Force your body to burn visceral belly fat with this morning routine. Let me ask you something honest. Have you ever done everything right, eaten less, moved more, tried the diets, and yet that stubborn layer of belly fat just refuses to leave? You step on the scale and the number moves, but the belly stays. The waistband still pulls. The bloating is still there in the morning. And somewhere deep down, you start to wonder, is this just how my body is now? It's not. Here's what I want you to understand before we go any further. That fat, specifically the fat wrapped around your abdominal organs, is not just a cosmetic problem. It's not about how you look in a photo. Visceral fat, the deep belly fat that presses against your liver, your intestines, your heart, is biologically active tissue. It is secreting hormones. It is driving inflammation. And if left unchecked, it is quietly accelerating the aging of your heart, your brain, and your metabolism. A landmark 2025 study published in the European Heart Journal using AI and imaging data from over 21,000 people found that this hidden belly fat directly accelerates the stiffening and aging of the heart. And separate research presented to the Radiological Society of North America showed that people with more visceral fat relative to muscle had measurably older-looking brains on MRI scans. Let that land for a moment. This is not about vanity. This is about how fast you are aging from the inside out. But here's the good news, and this is exactly why I made this video today. The morning hours are your single most powerful window to change this. The first 60 to 90 minutes after you wake up set your hormonal tone for the entire day. Get them right, and your body becomes a fat-burning machine. Get them wrong, and every choice you make after that fights upstream. Today, I'm going to walk you through the exact science of what's happening inside your body every single morning and the specific steps you can take, starting tomorrow, to finally force that visceral fat to move. Key points overview. Here are the 6 science-backed insights we're going to cover today. 1. Why visceral fat is fundamentally different from the fat you can pinch, and why your current approach may never reach it. 2. The insulin lock. How a single hormonal mistake every morning is keeping your body in fat storage mode before you've even had breakfast. 3. Your cortisol window. Why the stress hormone that wakes you up is either your greatest fat-burning ally or your worst enemy, depending on what you do in the first hour. 4. The liver connection. Why your liver is the gatekeeper of visceral fat loss and what you must do to unclog it. 5. The power of morning movement. What the research says about when you exercise and why timing can change everything. 6. The 3 morning non-negotiables: sunlight, hydration, and strategic fasting. The simplest levers that most people overlook completely. Let's go through each one. Visceral fat is a different animal. Let's start with the most important piece of context, because if you don't understand what visceral fat actually is, you'll keep targeting the wrong thing. Most people think of belly fat as one thing. They grab the soft layer just under the skin and think, that's what I need to lose. But that's subcutaneous fat. That's the 90%. It's the outer layer. And while it matters, it is not the most dangerous fat in your body. The other kind, visceral fat, is entirely different. It lives behind the abdominal wall, packed around your liver, your intestines, your kidneys. You cannot pinch it. You cannot feel it. But it is there, and it is metabolically far more active than any other fat in your body. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of subcutaneous fat like a quiet storage unit on the edge of town. It holds excess energy. It doesn't do much else. Now imagine visceral fat as a busy chemical factory in the center of that town, constantly releasing compounds into the water supply. That's exactly what visceral fat does. It pumps out inflammatory cytokines, free fatty acids, and a hormone called resistin, all of which travel directly through the portal vein straight into your liver, triggering insulin resistance and systemic inflammation. What the research shows is clear. A 2024 review in MDPI's Nutrients Journal confirmed that visceral adipose tissue is the leading determinant of insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes risk. More influential than total body weight, more influential than BMI. You can be a normal weight and carry dangerous levels of visceral fat. Scientists even have a name for it, TOFI, thin outside, fat inside, fat. So, when I say this morning routine is designed to specifically target visceral fat, I mean it at the level of hormonal physiology, not just calorie math. And if this is already making sense to you, if this is the kind of content you've been looking for, consider subscribing. I post science-driven health content like this every single day, and I'd love to have you as part of this community. The insulin lock. Why you're trapped in fat storage mode. Now let's talk about the hormone that controls almost everything when it comes to visceral fat, and the morning mistake that most people make without even realizing it. Insulin. Here's what's really going on inside your body every morning. When you wake up, your insulin levels are at their lowest point of the day. This is critical because low insulin is the biological unlock for fat burning. When insulin is low, your body can access stored fat, including visceral fat, and use it for fuel. This state is called lipolysis, and it is the metabolic condition you want to be in every single morning. But here's where most people immediately destroy it. Within the first 30 minutes of waking up, they reach for something sweet. A glass of orange juice, a banana, a bowl of cereal, a coffee loaded with sugar and flavored creamer. Even something that sounds healthy, like a low-fat yogurt with fruit or a granola bar, can spike blood sugar fast enough to trigger a significant insulin response. The moment insulin rises, fat burning stops. Full stop. Your body shifts from burning fat to storing it. And because visceral fat cells have a particularly high density of something called alpha-2 adrenergic receptors that actively block fat release, once insulin shuts the fat-burning switch off in the morning, it takes hours to reopen it. A 2024 meta-analysis in obesity reviews found that 67% of people who rely on calorie counting alone fail to reduce visceral fat after 12 weeks, precisely because they ignore these receptor-level mechanisms. It's not about eating less. It's about when insulin is allowed to rise and for how long. So what's the morning protocol here? First, delay eating. If you can extend your overnight fast, even by 30 to 60 minutes, you are giving your body more time in that fat-burning window. Even black coffee or plain water preserves this state. Second, when you do break your fast, break it with protein and fat, not carbohydrates. Eggs, avocado, whole Greek yogurt without sugar. Protein triggers a modest, controlled insulin response. Sugar triggers a spike. The difference is everything. Your first meal of the day is either a key or a padlock. Choose carefully. The cortisol window, your morning stress hormone. Let's talk about a hormone that most people only associate with stress, but that, in the morning context, is actually one of your most powerful fat-burning tools: cortisol. Here's the thing most doctors don't explain clearly. Cortisol is not inherently bad. It follows a natural daily rhythm. It peaks sharply in the first 30 to 45 minutes after waking in what's called the cortisol awakening response. This morning surge serves a vital purpose. It mobilizes energy. It raises alertness. And critically, it triggers the release of stored fat for fuel. When cortisol rises correctly in the morning, in a sharp, clean peak, it acts like a flare gun, signaling your body to release fatty acids from storage, including visceral fat, into the bloodstream to be burned. But here's where it breaks down. Research published in Diabetology and Metabolic Syndrome found that chronically elevated morning cortisol is directly linked to increased insulin resistance and impaired metabolic function. And a study in Frontiers in Endocrinology showed that the amount of visceral fat a person carries correlates directly with heightened HPA axis, the stress response system, reactivity, especially in the morning. This means more visceral fat creates more cortisol dysregulation, which creates more visceral fat. It is a cycle, and it feeds on stress, poor sleep, and morning habits that throw your body into low-grade alarm. So the protocol is this: protect your morning cortisol peak. Use it intentionally. How? Avoid scrolling your phone immediately after waking. Research shows that social media consumption in the first few minutes of the day spikes reactive cortisol. Instead, get morning sunlight within 20 minutes of rising. Step outside. Let natural light hit your eyes. This anchors your cortisol to a clean, healthy peak and tells your body the stress system is calm and the day has begun. Not that there's a threat to manage. And if you want more protocols like this, backed by science and explained clearly, subscribe now. New content every single day to help you take back your metabolic health. The liver connection, the hidden root cause. Now I want to take you deeper, because this is the section that most fat loss content skips entirely, and it may be the most important root cause of all: your liver. Here's what's really going on inside your body when visceral fat accumulates. Because visceral fat sits so close to your digestive organs, its waste products, free fatty acids and inflammatory compounds, drain directly into a vessel called the portal vein, which leads straight into your liver. Your liver is essentially the first stop for everything that comes from your gut and your visceral fat. When this drainage is constant and overwhelming, your liver becomes infiltrated with fat. This is called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or NAFLD. And it is now estimated to affect more than 1 in 3 adults in many developed countries. And the research is unambiguous. Published data in PubMed confirms that the severity of fatty liver is directly and powerfully correlated with the amount of visceral fat a person carries and with their degree of insulin resistance. Think of your liver like the filtration system of your body's metabolic factory. When it's clogged with fat, it can't process glucose properly. It can't regulate fat metabolism. It can't manage hormones efficiently. And it begins producing excess triglycerides and VLDL cholesterol, which further worsen metabolic health. So what does this mean for your morning routine? It means that cleaning up the liver is not optional. It's foundational. Here's what the research supports. 1. Reducing fructose. Fructose is processed almost exclusively by the liver, and excess fructose, especially from fruit juice and processed foods, is directly linked to hepatic fat accumulation. Cut the liquid sugar first. 2. Choline-rich foods. Eggs, in particular, are high in choline, a nutrient essential for fat transport out of the liver. Studies confirm choline deficiency accelerates liver fat deposition. Eating eggs in the morning is genuinely therapeutic for liver function. 3. Coffee, black, no sugar, has been repeatedly associated in research with reduced liver fat and improved liver enzyme levels. 1 to 2 cups in the morning is not just permitted. For liver health, it may be genuinely beneficial. Fix the liver, and you fix the root upstream of visceral fat. It is that direct. Morning movement, the timing that changes everything. Let me address exercise, because the science here is more nuanced than most people realize, and getting the timing right is genuinely the difference between modest results and transformational ones. Here's what the research shows. A 2024 study published in the Journal of Sports Science found that morning workouts performed in a fasted or semi-fasted state may burn up to 20% more fat than the same workout performed later in the day. The mechanism is straightforward. After an overnight fast, glycogen stores in the liver and muscle are partially depleted. With less available sugar to burn, your body shifts preferentially toward fat oxidation. And here's the critical distinction from a 2025 meta-analysis in atherosclerosis. Low to moderate intensity exercise tends to preferentially burn subcutaneous fat. But to reach visceral fat, the dangerous deep fat, higher intensity work is required. This is why I recommend what I call the morning metabolic stack. First 10 minutes, a short, fasted walk. Even 10 minutes of walking outside in the morning activates fat-burning enzymes, lowers fasting insulin, and begins the process of fat mobilization. It's low barrier, high return. Then, 2 to 3 times per week, add resistance training or moderate intensity intervals. Compound movements, squats, deadlifts, rows, engage large muscle groups that dramatically increase glucose uptake and insulin sensitivity for hours after the session. This is one of the most powerful tools known to medicine for reversing insulin resistance. Critical rule: do not eat a high carbohydrate meal immediately before morning exercise. This shuts down fat oxidation at the cellular level. If you exercise fasted or with only black coffee, your body remains in fat-burning mode throughout the entire session. The goal of morning movement is not just calorie burning in the session. It is about creating a hormonal and enzymatic environment, lower insulin, higher AMPK activation, increased fat oxidation capacity that persists throughout the entire day. That is how you turn your body into a fat-burning engine from sunrise. The 3 morning non-negotiables: sunlight, hydration, and strategic fasting. I want to close the core content today with 3 specific, actionable non-negotiables, the foundational pillars that all the other strategies rest on. These are the most overlooked and often the highest leverage habits in the entire morning protocol. Non-negotiable 1. Morning sunlight, 10 to 20 minutes within 30 minutes of rising. This is not a wellness trend. This is circadian biology. Research in Belly Proof's analysis of metabolic signaling confirms that natural morning light is the most potent regulator of your circadian rhythm, the internal clock that governs every hormone in your body, including insulin, cortisol, leptin, and ghrelin. As little as 20 to 30 minutes of morning light exposure has been shown to measurably influence BMI and metabolic outcomes. When you go outside in the morning, your body receives the biological signal that the day has begun. Your cortisol peaks cleanly, your melatonin drops, your metabolic systems sync. When you skip this, staying indoors under artificial light, staring at screens, your body's internal clock drifts and your fat-burning hormones get scrambled. Non-negotiable 2. Water before anything else, 500 mml immediately upon waking. During sleep, you lose roughly 500 to 700 milliliters of water through respiration and metabolism. Even mild dehydration measurably reduces metabolic rate and increases cortisol. Before coffee, before anything, drink water. Add a pinch of quality sea salt or a slice of lemon if you'd like to support electrolyte balance. This is one of the simplest, zero-cost metabolic upgrades available to anyone. Non-negotiable. 3. Extend the fast, at least until true hunger arrives. One of the clearest findings in the intermittent fasting literature, including a comprehensive 2024 umbrella review of randomized controlled trials published in Science Direct, is that intermittent fasting significantly reduces waist circumference, fasting insulin, fat mass, and triglycerides. The key mechanism? Extended time in a low insulin state, which is the biological prerequisite for visceral fat to be mobilized and burned. The morning is your daily fasting extension. Do not rush to end it. Let the fat burn first. Let me bring all of this together. Visceral belly fat is not a willpower problem. It is not a laziness problem. It is a hormonal and metabolic problem, and it has a hormonal and metabolic solution. Here's what we covered today. Visceral fat is biologically active tissue, secreting inflammatory compounds, driving insulin resistance, and according to the latest 2025 research, accelerating the aging of your heart and your brain. It is dangerous, not because of how it looks, but because of what it does. Your morning window, the first 60 to 90 minutes after waking, is the most powerful lever you have to shift your body from fat storage mode into fat burning mode. And the levers are specific. Protect your low insulin window. Delay eating. Break the fast with protein and fat. Use your cortisol peak. Get morning sunlight. Avoid reactive stress in the first hour. Heal the liver. Reduce fructose. Eat choline-rich foods like eggs. Consider black coffee. Move before you eat. fasted morning walks, and resistance training drive fat oxidation at the cellular level. Honor the 3 non-negotiables: sunlight, water, and an extended fast every single morning. None of these require a prescription. None require expensive supplements. They require understanding your physiology and then working with it instead of against it. So here's your challenge. Try just one of these changes starting tomorrow morning. Write it down. Track how your energy, your hunger, and your body respond over the next 7 days. Small, consistent actions grounded in real science are how metabolic transformation actually happens. If this video added real value to your understanding, please like it and subscribe to join thousands of others who are choosing to optimize their health naturally, without medication, and without confusion. I'll see you in the next one.